All right. Welcome. First, find yourself a really comfortable seat. So we'll build our mountain pose from the ground up. So thinking about where your feet are on the floor, thinking about your toes in front of your heels, and thinking about your knees over your ankles. So sometimes it might be tempting to have your feet out too far or tucked back too far. And we're looking for as 90 degrees as possible, obviously within whatever feels good for you. And then think about where your knees are. So for me, I feel stable with my knees separated, but if you feel more stable with your knees together, that's fine. What we're looking to avoid is any kind of like wishy-washiness with the knees coming in and out, or any knee kissing, because sometimes even with the feet open, then the knees will come together. But we're looking for the knees to be directly over the ankles. So find what feels good in your body. And then we'll root down through the hips. So thinking about really placing the hips on the chair, maybe you wiggle left and right, maybe you come forward and backward to find where's your center of balance, what feels both rooted and also having your spine over the hips. So often we lean forward because we're typing or we're driving. And so it might at first feel like you're leaning backward when you're actually upright. Same thing for the chin. So just like the spine, we want to have the head supported by the spine so the neck muscles don't have to do so much work, which sometimes means tucking the chin back a little bit so that the head is over the spine, is over the hips. All right, and then we breathe. So where is the breath in your body today? We've got good alignment, and now we're looking to expand and deepen the breath, because often the breath stays in the chest, which is fine if that's where it is. We're going to invite the breath into the lungs, into the ribs, to expand the intercostal muscles. So see if you can feel the breath in the side ribs. And maybe you actually take your hands to the back ribs and press into the hands. And feel the back ribs expanding. Our ribs are, all 360 degrees around our torso. And sometimes we are really stuck in the front plane, but we've got a whole back side as well. So we'll start with a little breathing exercise. Feel free to close your eyes if that feels good, or simply lower your gaze, or make your eyes go fuzzy, or do whatever you need to do to focus on yourself and your body. And we're going to breathe, imagining the energy coming up the front of the body, up to the crown of the head, sitting up nice and tall. And then exhaling down the spine into the sits bones, the tailbone, rooting us into the chair. So inhale to lengthen, and exhale to root. Inhaling up the front side of the body, and exhaling down the back side of the body. And we'll stay here for a moment. I'll keep the time. Now is a good time to set an intention for yourself if you'd like to, for this hour or for this day. So thinking about, what do you want to cultivate? What do you want to attract? What do you want to feel like? So this could be that you want to manifest more joy or acceptance or compassion. It could be that you want to stay in the present moment. It could be that you're going to try everything. It could be something else. So think about your intention and then send it off into the universe. Let the universe conspire to help make it so. And we'll come into some long, slow exhales through the mouth. So inhaling through the nose where you can, and a long, slow exhale through the mouth, like you're blowing through a straw. Extending the exhale as long as you can, and then inhaling again. So this type of breathing with the extended exhale stimulates the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in our body, which tells us to relax, to calm down, that we can rest and digest, that we don't need to be on guard. So a nice inhale and a slow exhale. Let's do 2 more like that. Lovely. And then contract the chin to the chest and blink open the eyes. And we'll move into some really slow cat-cows. Coming into cow pose, looking up, bringing the sternum through the shoulders. See something new. And then into cat pose, arching the back, tucking the chin to the chest. Inhaling into cow, looking up, maybe closing the teeth to feel the stretch down the front of the throat. And exhaling into cat, rounding the spine, feeling the stretch down the neck, maybe in the shoulders. And then moving at your own pace. So these might be fast or slow today. They might be big or small. Find what feels good in your body. Pressing down into the feet, the pinky toe side and the big toe side. Rooting down through your sits bones. And then tipping the pelvis forward and back as we come from cow pose, tipped forward, to cat pose, tipped back. Nice and gentle. We'll do 1 more set. Lovely. And then come to a neutral spine, and we'll get into some wrists and hands. So first, we'll just open and close the fingertips. So seeing how the hands feel today, if they are stiff or if they're moving well. Really big open, and then really tight closed. And again, this can be fast or slow. And then we'll stay in our fist with the thumbs out at first. And just do some wrist circles. So I'm going out. And then I'm going to switch directions and go in. And then I'm going to give my brain a little bit of a task to go both to the right, which I always find more difficult to do both the same direction for some reason, and then both to the left. Lovely. And then we'll do some wrist stretches, so extending out the right hand to a big stop sign and gently pulling back on the fingers with the left. And again, this can be more intense by really pressing towards the wall in front of you, and it can be less intense by slightly bending the elbow. So you decide what feels good in your body today. If you're looking for a lot of strength and intensity, stretch it out. And if you're looking for something more gentle, bend it closer to your body. There's no right or wrong. And then we'll flip the fingertips towards the earth, and using the left hand on the back of the hand, feel a stretch on the top of the wrist. And again, more intense if you really extend that arm, and less intense if you bend the elbow. And then we can shake it out and do the same thing with the thumb If you want to pull the thumb back towards the wrist, because I can never get that in line with the rest of the fingers. And then if you want to work on a bit of a dexterity, we can touch the thumb to each one of the fingers and back again, and see how quickly you can do this today, back and forth. And then if you want to give yourself another added challenge, you can close your eyes and do the same, because a lot of times we are very dependent on what we can see to put our bodies in alignment. So see if you can do this with your eyes closed, and then we'll shake it out on that side and do the same thing on the left. So starting with a big stop, and then using the right hand to gently pull back on the fingers, feeling the stretch on the bottom of the wrist. And again, you can intensify the stretch by really pressing the palm towards the opposite wall. And you can make the stretch a little bit more gentle by slightly bending the elbows, so you decide what feels good today. Don't let the ego get in the way. Sometimes we think we're supposed to do the most challenging or most difficult version of a pose, but what we're really supposed to do is connect our breath to our movement and feel comfortable in our body. So if you're not comfortable in your body, then it's going to be really difficult to keep a clear mind and keep your mind on your breathing. And then tip the fingertips down and gently pull the top of the hand back towards the wrist. Feel the stretch on the top of the wrist. So intensity is not required to do yoga correctly or to get the maximum benefit. We're really looking to integrate what feels good in our body with the breathing, with a calm mind, with a mind that can accept the thoughts as they come in and then let them simply pass along on their way. Lovely. And then we'll shake that out. You can do the thumb separately if you like. Bring a little stretch there. And then similarly, we can do some dexterity here, touching the thumb to each of the other fingers. And this might feel the same or it might feel different from the other side, and that's fine. We're not as symmetric as we might like to think. And if you closed your eyes and you want to give yourself that challenge, you can do that as well. Lovely. And then we'll do one more wrist roll, this time with the thumbs inside. So tuck the thumbs inside your fists, and we'll rotate in one direction, which might change the way that that it feels. I have a little more cracks and pops I can hear with the thumb inside, and then the other direction, which is fine as long as there's no pain. So as soon as you experience any kind of sharp pain, that's a sign to stop what you're doing and reassess. Stretching, feelings, fine. And stretching sometimes is uncomfortable. That's okay as long as it's not pain. All right, stretch that out, and we'll get into some shoulder work, starting by bringing the shoulders all the way up to the ears, as tight as possible, and then we'll let it all go with an exhale in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to do that 2 more times. So bringing the shoulders all the way up towards the ears, creating a bit of tension, creating a bit of stress, and then we'll all let it all go in 3, 2, 1. One more at your pace. Lovely. And then we can do some shoulder circles. Going in one direction, I'm going back first, and these can be small, and that's fine. Or you're free to add in the elbows. If you want a little bit bigger circles, you can touch the shoulders if you want. That can feel really good, and play with tempo, right? Faster is not always better. Sometimes when we go really slowly, we can feel the spots that are tense and tight and kind of breathe into them and move through them instead of bypassing them. Sometimes when we're going really fast, we don't even notice the spots that are holding more tension than others. And if you want to get really big, you're welcome to do that. Involve the whole arm. But again, bigger is not always better, and you've got to decide what feels the best for you. today. And then we'll switch directions. So for me now, I'm going to go forward. And again, these can be really small, or you can involve the elbows. You can hang on to the shoulders. You can play with the tempo, slow or fast. It's the size. And if you want to get really big, you can bring the whole arms up and over. And you can always go back if you tried something and you're like, actually, that one's not for me, then go back to doing something small, doing something that feels good. And then we shake it out and work on some neck stretches. And we'll start by just turning the neck to the right, just seeing how far you can go. Use the eyes to guide you, and then look behind you, see if you've got another inch, because sometimes where we look, we can find a little bit extra range of motion. And you can stay here, or you can use your left hand on the left jaw to gently, gently, gently give yourself a little bit extra. Thinking about sitting up tall and exhaling to twist. Inhaling to sit up tall and exhaling to twist over the right shoulder. And then if your hand's on the jaw, you can bring it back down to the lap, and then use the eyes to come back through to center. And before we go to the other side, we're going to chew like a camel. So opening the jaw and going to one side, and opening the jaw and going to the other side. This is another area where you might feel some clicks or pops in the jaw. And again, that's okay as long as there's no pain. And then you might want to do a big yawn, which is good to stretch the jaw muscles, but also to bring in more oxygen and take a deep breath and get the lungs engaged, get the diaphragm engaged, and then we'll go to the other side. So when you feel like you've had enough, we'll again use the eyes first, looking to the left, and then turning the head to the left, and then seeing if you can bring your eyes all the way to the left side. Is there another inch? Do you have any more range of motion? And you can stay here. This might feel like enough. Or you can bring the right hand to the right jaw and just very gently see if there's any more space. With every inhale, thinking about getting tall. And with every exhale, thinking about twisting over the left shoulder. And then if the hand's on the jaw, bringing it back to the lap, and then using the eyes to come back to center slower than you might like to go. Lovely. All right. And then feel free to shake it out, do whatever you need to do, and then we'll tip the right ear to the right shoulder, letting the left shoulder be really heavy. You can even imagine carrying a suitcase on that side. Imagine an anchor or a weight in your left hand. Or you can stretch that hand away, which changes the stretch a little bit. You can decide what feels best for your neck and your body today. You can move the hand in front of or behind the hips, which also changes where you feel the stretch. And then we'll rotate the nose down like we're looking at our pocket. You'll still feel the stretch on the left side, but it'll adjust a little bit. And similarly, you can imagine that heavy briefcase on the left, if that helps. And then we'll roll the chin to the chest. Feel the stretch down the back of the neck, upper back, letting the shoulders sink. And then coming back to neutral, and we'll do that on the other side. So dropping the left ear to the left shoulder, feeling the stretch down the right side of the neck. And if you like, dropping that right shoulder, imagining you're carrying a something heavy, or that there's an anchor pulling that hand down towards the earth, or you can stretch it away and experiment with bringing the hand forward or back and seeing where does that hand need to be to bring you the most release, what feels great. And then we'll rotate the nose down to look at the left pocket, changing a bit of where the stretch is on the right side. And then rolling the chin to the chest. And come back up to neutral. Lovely. All right. We've done a lot with our arms and neck and upper body, and I think we ought to involve the legs a little bit. So if you do have your strap, this can be helpful. We're just going to start with the Achilles and the back of the calf. So bring the strap underneath the right foot and extending any amount. This could be, you can still have a bent knee and do this stretch, effectively, correctly. You can also extend the leg up if that feels good, or if you have another chair or a footrest or something, you can also put the heel there. But what we're looking for is to light up the back of the calf. Okay, so for me, I'm going to come forward just a little bit on the edge of my chair. And then I've got the strap in both hands. If the grip is feeling a little bit loose, or, it doesn't, that's really tough, you can always make your strap into a loop and pull with the wrists. That's fine too. It's kind of up to you what feels good and what works with your body. And then if you like, you might just stay here. This might be enough. This might feel great. If you like, you can get a really tall spine and hinge a bit over that right leg. But only if the balance is working, only if that feels good in your back, only if the primary stretch is in the leg, right? So we don't want to lose the stretch in the Achilles and down the back side of the leg just because we're adding the hinge forward. It's also totally fine to sit up nice and tall. And then you can bring back to mind your intention if you set one in the beginning of class. Maybe you turn it into a little mantra. So if your goal is to have more self-compassion, I might say, I am self-compassionate while I'm stretching. And just repeat it to yourself. I am self-compassionate. Lovely. And then we'll switch to the other side. So if your leg is out, you can bring it back in, bend it up. You might march or wiggle the knee or the foot back and forth like some windshield wipers, or maybe you press into the toes to lift the heel, press into the heel to lift the toes, or wiggle those toes about. And then we'll adjust to do the left side. So again, the right side's going to be our base, and then bringing the strap underneath the left foot, kind of in the ball of the foot or the middle of the foot. And then for me, I'm going to stretch it out so my heel is still touching the ground. But of course, if you like, you can bring it up so that it is off the ground, or you can put it on another chair. It's kind of up to you. And for me, I always have to be mindful on the left that my pinky toe side and my big toe side are even. Because for me, my pinky toe side wants to rotate away and my big toe side wants to come forward. And so I'm going to look at my foot and make sure it looks like a perfect footprint would go on the wall opposite, so that the left and right sides of the foot are equal. And then again, as always, you can put your wrists inside the strap if that feels easier, if that feels, if that feels better for the grip. And then you can sit up tall and hinge forward if you like, or you can stay where you are. And you might do something different on the left and the right, and that's fine. You don't have to always do the same thing, depending on how you feel and what feels tight. Hopefully. And then we'll slowly come out of that. And we're gonna use the strap again, so keep it nearby. And then similarly, you might march on the left, or windshield wiper the foot or the knee, press into the toes to lift the heels, press into the heel to lift the toes, and then find yourself in a nice tall seat again. All right. As promised, we're gonna stick with this. We're gonna do a bit of isometric strengthening. So turn your strap, if you can, into something a little bit smaller so that it can go around your thighs. You can also use TheraBand for this, or you can also just visualize. You don't have to have a strap in order to do it. But I'm gonna do it so that, again, my knees are about hip width distance apart. And then I am going to isometrically press into the band so that I am feeling the tension. I'm pressing away. I'm pressing down into the feet and away with the outsides of the thighs. And we're going to practice a little bit of chair pose. And it's fine if we stay right here. You can lift the arms if you like. You can also leave the hands on the knees. It's kind of up to you. Pressing down into the feet, pressing outwards with the thighs, lifting the arms, stretching the fingertips towards the wall in front of you, while also stretching the hips back towards the back of your chair. And maybe you stay here and that's fine. Or maybe you experiment with rocking forward a little bit, pressing into the feet. Maybe you experiment with bringing the bum off the chair a little bit. There we go. Or maybe you stay exactly where you are and have a nice tall back, pressing the hips back, pressing the thighs out, pressing the fingertips forward, lifting the head up tall, and breathing. Can be easy to forget the breath when we have a lot of other things on our mind. Nice, slow, steady, even breaths. And then if your hands are out, you can gently bring them back down. And we can loosen the strap. I think one round of chair is all right for today. And we'll take the strap off. I'm going to do one more exercise with the strap, this time with the shoulders. So you can use a strap or you don't have to. We're going to bring the right arm up first and then hinge at the elbow. If you're using the strap, you can drop the strap down the back with the right hand and then reach the left hand behind to grab the other end of the strap to really open up the chest, open up under the armpit, feeling the stretch in possibly both shoulders as you open up. And then you can inch the fingertips towards one another. So I can turn to the side so that you can see. Some people are super flexible and they can touch their fingertips together. Other people have more of a gap, and it's fine. It doesn't matter either way. We're just using the strap as a good prop because it might not even be in this lifetime that your fingertips touch, and that's okay. Getting nice and tall. Following the breath. And then we'll come out of it by letting go with the left hand, bringing the right hand back, and then we'll cross the right arm over. Feel the stretch in the right shoulder. You can grab for the wrist, or you can bend up the left arm and kind of hug above the elbow. We usually try to avoid putting any pressure directly on the joints, so above or below is usually the safest bet. And then we shake it out on that side, and we do the same stretch on the other side. So again, if you don't want to use the strap, that's fine. You can lift the left arm up, hinge at the elbow and just use the right arm underneath, like the fleshy bit of the arm. And that can also do the exact same thing. So this is the pose. This is great. You can stay here. If you want to experiment with the strap, dangle the strap down with the left and reach around with the right to find it. And then walk the fingertips together as you open up the right hand to the left. Rooting through the hips, getting nice and tall. And don't forget to breathe. And then to come out whenever you're ready, we'll let go with the right. We'll stretch up with the left. And then we'll stretch across with the left arm. Grabbing onto the wrist or bending up the elbow, either above or below the joint. And feeling that stretch in the left shoulder. Lovely. And then we'll let that go. We'll let our strap go. We'll do a bit of moving in our vinyasa, our sun salutations. So if you have a block, you feel free to use it. If you don't, that's fine. It's totally up to you. I like to use the block because it lets me have something sturdy to hang on to. So, all right, we're going to start with the feet hip width apart. In our mountain pose, bringing the palms open, the shoulders down, the chin back. Breathing here, nice and tall. You can bring back that breathing pattern of inhaling up the front of the body and letting the exhale come down the spine to root into the chair. And then we'll start with a half sun A. Inhaling the arms up, overhead, and exhaling to bow and fold over the legs. Any amount. Be careful of your back, especially if this is the first forward fold you've done of the day. It doesn't have to be a super flat pancake. You might just ease into it and then let the head hang heavy. Maybe nodding the head yes, gently, shaking the head no, gently, and then seeing if there's any more room. Maybe you walk the hands down to the shins, or if you do have a block, maybe you walk your hands down to the block, dropping the head, releasing the low back, and then maybe you pedal out the feet, maybe looking to the left and the right, pressing into one side, looking to the left, and then pressing into the left and looking into the right, and seeing if you can find any more room. Coming back into that forward fold and seeing if there's any more space in the low back. Seeing if your head can hang any closer to your toes. Lovely. And then to come back out, we'll either walk the hands up the legs or bring them up overhead. And then bring the hands to heart center. Big inhale. Exhale through the mouth. And one more like that. Big inhale. And exhale through the mouth. And we'll do that again. Inhaling the arms up, overhead. And exhale to bow and fold over the legs, any amount. Inhale to a flat back. Extending the head towards the wall in front of you, pressing the hips into the back of the chair. And then bow and fold, letting the arms dangle heavy. Or maybe you grab to opposite elbows and rock side to side. If that feels good and you feel stable, think about what works for you in your body today. And then we'll come all the way up, engaging the abs. Pressing into the hips, rising all the way up, looking towards the thumbs and bringing the hands to heart center. Lovely. I'm going to add a twist this time. So inhaling Bring the arms up overhead. Exhale to bow and fold over the legs. This time rooting the right hand either on the block or on the floor if you have space. This feels pretty far away from me, so I would prefer to use the block, or you can grab for your opposite ankle. So you could grab for the left ankle, and then we're going to open up the left shoulders. If you like, you can bring the left hand up towards the ceiling. You can also keep the left hand on the hip. You could bend the elbow and reach the left hand behind the back and open up the shoulder like we were doing in the shoulder opener with the strap. It's up to you. Make sure you're breathing. And then we'll slowly come back to center. Pedal out the legs, left and right, left and right. All right, we'll come into a flat back and bow and fold. Inhale, the arms sweep up, and we're going to go right back into it on the other side. So let yourself come back into the forward fold. And again, you can use the block, you can use the floor, you can use your opposite leg. This time we're going to the right, opening up the right shoulder. Bring the right hand up towards the ceiling, or keeping the right hand on the hip, or bending the right elbow and reaching the right hand back behind the body, imagining you're grasping towards the left hip. Breathe here. And then we'll come right back into our forward fold, maybe pedaling out the feet. And then we'll come into a flat back, all the way down into forward fold. Engage the abs and either walk the hands up or sweep the arms up. Palms to touch, hands to heart center. Take a breath here. Lovely. And then we'll shake it out a little bit. And we'll do one more balancing sequence, I guess, before we go into our final relaxation. So I'm going to move my block out of the way. And we're going to do a little bit of eagle pose. So starting with the right leg, we're going to make the right leg the tree trunk, the root, the really, really stable, really sturdy. And then crossing the left leg over. And of course, you can use the hands if you need to. You might stay here, or you might be working on tucking the left toes. That's not going to happen for me today. I'm staying right here, and that's fine. My goal with this pose is to create a lot of traction, bringing the thighs together, bringing the knees together, rooting the right foot down into the floor, while also sitting up nice and tall. So my left leg is on top. I'm going to open the arms and then bring the left arm underneath. Get yourself a nice big hug. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And you might stay here, and that's fine. This is great. Getting the spine nice and tall, rooting down through the sits bone, squeezing the legs together, pressing the heel down, pressing the toe down on the right side. Or you might experiment with lifting the elbows. That might feel good. You might experiment with bringing the backs of the hands together and either lifting the elbows up nice and tall, or bringing the elbows down to see if you can get the fingertips by the nose. You might experiment with bringing the palms of the hands together. Or you might stay right here in this nice big bear hug. All are great versions. One is not better or worse than the other. Take a big breath here. Find a drishti, a focal point, one little bit, a corner, a little dot of something, and find some stillness. And then we'll slowly unwind the hands, and we'll come into a seated twist. So you can leave the legs exactly how they are. Bring the right hand to the outside of the left knee and twisting over the left shoulder. Getting tall on the inhale and twisting on the exhale. You can use the left hand on the base of the seat or the back of your chair, or again, you can bend the elbow and reach around. Up to you, whatever feels best, whatever feels most sturdy. Use your eyes to look over the left shoulder and see if you can see something new. And twist and twist and twist. And then we'll untwist and come into a figure four. So bringing the left ankle on the right knee. This might already be enough. You might already feel the hip opening. Great, stay here. Otherwise, you can imagine a big anchor attached to the left knee. You can use the left hand on the left thigh. Getting nice and tall and then hinging forward with a flat back. Sometimes it only takes an inch or two and then you can really feel the left hip lighting up. Breathing into any feelings of stretching. And then see if you can hinge forward another millimeter. And then we'll slowly come back up and give the left ankle a little bit of TLC. One direction, doing some ankle circles, or the other direction. You can obviously do this without the hand if you like, but I find that I have a bigger range of motion if I use the hand to help articulate the ankle. And then we'll do a little bit of pointing. I can feel this stretch all the way up the front of my foot into the outer edge of my calf. So you might feel the same. We'll stay here for a moment. Big breath in. Slow breath out. Big breath in. Slow breath out. And then we'll switch to a flexed position, especially getting into those toes. Maybe you feel this in the Achilles again. Maybe you feel this in the underside of the foot. Same thing, big breath in. Slow breath out. Big breath in. And a slow breath out. And then we'll switch to the other side. So bringing the left leg down. And then we'll cross on the right side over the left, right? So this is going to be our really strong, sturdy tree trunk, pressing into the big toe side, pinky toe side, and the heel, and then crossing the right over, squeezing the hips together, squeezing the thighs together. And again, maybe you're here or maybe you're working on tucking the toes. Either way is fine. And then because the right knee is on top, as I open up my arms, I'm going to bring the right arm underneath and give myself a nice big squeeze, reaching for opposite shoulder blades. And maybe you stay here. This is great. Or maybe you experiment with lifting the elbows up as you root through the sits bones and also get really tall. Maybe you experiment with bringing the backs of the hands together and either lifting the elbows or bringing the elbows down and seeing how low you can get the fingertips. Maybe you experiment with bringing the palms of the hands together. Or maybe you stay right here in this big old hug. Any of the options are equally valid, equally good. Find your drishti, your one single point of focus. And then breathe. Find some stillness. And then we'll slowly unwind and come into our twist, this time to the right. So I'm going to bring my left hand to the outside of the right thigh, getting nice and tall, looking over the left shoulder, Thinking about getting tall on the inhale and twisting on the exhale. Using the eyes, see something new. Your right hand can grab the bottom of the chair. It could grab the back of the chair. It could bend and reach behind the back. Think about what you need in terms of balance, in terms of support, in terms of what feels good in your body. It might be something different than what you did on the other side, and that's okay. And twist and twist and twist. And then we'll slowly untwist using the eyes to walk along the wall so we don't get dizzy, don't get vertigo. And then we'll come into our figure 4 on this side. So crossing the ankle over the knee. You can also cross at the ankles. That's fine too. You might already feel this, and this might already be a lot in your hip. Great, stay. You can also imagine a big weight pulling the right knee down. You can use your right hand on the right thigh, getting nice and tall. And then if you're still not feeling enough here, hinging forward until that right hip lights up. And then once it does, staying where you are, focusing on the breath, breathing into the hip. And then once you feel a bit of opening, a bit of softening, getting tall in the spine and maybe hinging forward another inch. But remember, 80% is good enough. We're not trying to go to our max. We're trying to keep it in a range where we can breathe. So if your breathing is belabored, if your breathing is not even and slow and feeling good, then you've probably gone too far, and it's easy to fix. You just come out of the pose a little bit. Give yourself a little bit of grace. Give yourself a little bit of space. And then we'll come all the way back up and we'll do our pointing and flexing on this side. Oh, we did some ankle articulation first. Yeah. So let's rotate the ankle in one direction. And again, of course, you can do this without the hand if you want. No big deal. You can sometimes get a bigger range of motion with the hands, so it's really up to you. And then the other direction, coming back around. And then we do some pointing. Again, I can feel this stretch all the way up the front of my foot and into the outside of my right calf. And then we'll flex, including the toes. See if you can stretch the bottom side of the foot, maybe into the Achilles and the back of the heel, maybe up the back of the leg. And breathe. And then we'll come out, come back into our mountain pose, and then get really comfortable. So that might mean scooting back in the chair so you have some support behind your back, or it might mean getting a pillow and putting a pillow behind your back, putting on another layer, doing any last stretch or movement that your body's interested in doing before we go into a final relaxation. Take your time, settle in, make your nest. And then when you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes or lower your gaze and come back to the breath. Using the diaphragm, breathing into the belly, let the belly rise on the inhale and fall on the exhale. Coming back to your intention one more time. Maybe stating it as a mantra, as a positive affirmation. I am self-compassionate. I follow my breath. I'm full of joy. And then think of how you're going to take that intention into the rest of the day. Just a tiny small act, one little bitty thing you can do because all those teeny tiny little acts are what builds up to our habits and our lives. So there's nothing too small that won't make a positive impact. Feel the breath in your ribs. Feel the breath in your belly. And then we'll breathe one more time from the tips of the toes up to the crown of the head, and then exhale down the back side of the body from the crown of the head, down the spine, down the backs of the legs to the heels. And we'll breathe in that pattern, inhaling, visualizing the toes, the knees, the hips, the shoulders, the head, and then exhaling down the back, down the spine to the hips, the hamstrings, the back of the knees to the heels. And carry on like this. And then when you're ready, you can let go of the visualization. And we'll slowly bring our attention to the fingertips and the hands, to the toes and the feet, the right wrist and the left wrist, the right ankle and the left ankle, the right elbow and the left elbow, the right knee and the left knee, the right shoulder and the left shoulder, the right hip and the left hip, the neck, torso, the jaw, the crown of the head, the whole body. Breathe here for a moment, as relaxed as you possibly can be. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes.